goes back to the basics.
Yeah.
Some of it is basics. Some of it is some of the tech pieces that are coming to us. BI tools, like to understand the whole business, is giving back time to the executive director. The executive director now has time to give back to the sales director. The sales director can get out of the building. So I feel like it's a multidiscipline approach and giving the resources and the tools at many different levels.
Welcome to Season 7 of Bridge the Gap, a podcast dedicated to informing, educating, and influencing the future of housing and services for seniors. Powered by sponsors AccuShield, Align, NIC Map Vision, Procare HR, Sage, Hamilton Captel, ServiceMaster, The Bridge Group Construction, and Solinity, and produced by Solinity Marketing.
Welcome to Bridge the Gap Podcast, this senior living podcast with Josh and Lucas here at the NIC Conference in Dallas, Texas, with a really awesome friend and guest, BTG Ambassador Sherrie Bebell. Welcome to the program.
Thank you.
Yes, we are so excited.
To be here.
Yes, we are excited. You are one of the most fun people to talk to, mainly because you're so passionate about the industry and people know you specifically from your sales and marketing genius at CPA, right? A great private equity firm, a lot of communities, great reputation. You've worked there for a long time, and it's going to be fun to dive in on some sales and marketing topics, and then also some really big news about a financial service product and service that you're going to be rolling out to the industry that some people know about, but you're going to roll it out to our audience. So let's start with the sales and marketing piece. What are some of the biggest challenges operators are facing, the ones that you're working with today from sales and marketing perspective?
NIC has been amazing. A lot of people, a lot of great connections. So happy to be here. From a sales and marketing standpoint, what I'm seeing, I got to take it back down to the foundation, to the community level, because that's really where my heart lives, right? First and foremost, that's where all the outcomes actually come from a high level down. As owner investors, the expectations are really high. We have big numbers that we have to meet to return investment on everything that we've provided to our communities. So our expectations are high of our operators, which means that the expectations at the community level are very high. I am the first one to say that the excuse bucket is empty. I hate to say that.
Yes.
But COVID is behind us. We have to increase occupancy and revenue. So I take it down to that ground level, where the execution really happens, and anything we can do at any level of our stakeholders to help resource our on-site community sales leaders, right? Because the expectations are high, where our industry used to be, you got to get at least 4 move-ins a month. We're no longer at that, right? Because the average move-outs are at 5. You can't consider 4 move-ins to be a win. So increasing those move-ins means that there's more pressure, more responsibilities, but what are we doing to give them back some time, right? So that they can meet those numbers. I come out every year with all of my operators. I try to have a focus, something that I can add value and give them to either a resource or just to be a cheerleader. This year I was a little overzealous in my focus areas with all of our operators. So number one is pivot to profit. I can't wait too long to make decisions that need to make changes to affect the outcomes, right? We can't look at a quarterly report in the rear view mirror. We need to be on top of our data. We need to be on top of our metrics and understand it. So adding value and providing our operators with even data that either they don't have access to or another perspective on that data so that they can funnel it down so it makes sense at the community level. So pivot to profit is big tag word for me this year. The second is your network is your net worth.
Okay.
We all love to come to these conferences and make new friends and get together with our old friends, but the expectations at the community level is the exact same. We need them out doing external business development. So again, what can we do to relieve them of some of the burden that's happening at the community so they can get out of the building? Because we want them to make new friends, right? We want the non-paid referrals. So bring down that cost per move-in is a focus and trying to get them out of the building. And then the third focus, again, overzealous and what I brought to my focus of this year is to get those move-ins early in the month. So I don't know if you're Grey's Anatomy fans, but Dr. McDreamy.
Josh, I know, is a huge Grey Anatomy fan.
Yes, for all the reasons you might imagine. Yes.
Dr. McDreamy in the sitcom or the drama
I'm
series.
there, Dr. McDreamy all the way. You had me.
I think I need to come up with my own, maybe McSherrie. I don't know. I got to come up with something for McSassy. I don't know. That definitely would add some level to it. But Dr. McDreamy would start out any of his operations with, it's a good day to save a life. And I want to bring forward, it's a good day to have a move-in. Not allowing all of those move-ins to come in at the end of the month. Every single move-out, almost all of them, happen at the beginning of the month. And then you don't free your move-ins till the end of the month. You're eroding ADC. Even if you net gain during that month, you're still eroding the ADC. So helping to get that philosophy into the communities, right? Supporting it, talking about it every day at stand-up. Who's moving in? How can we help them move in? Maybe setting the stage for that so it's happening throughout the month. Those are 3 big focus areas. I go back to how do we give them back more time? 2.5 years ago, I created a program to assist the communities that CPA owns coming through the pandemic, the pent-up demand that was coming at us, turnover in the sales roles, and just the burdens and the responsibilities that were piling up on all of our sales leaders. I was trying to think of what can I do from the ownership level that gives our communities a resource during the sales process, but we don't get in their way. That was a big ask. That was like, how do you do that? But what I kept coming back to was one of the hardest parts in the sales process at the community is number one, time, right? How much time can you really spend with a prospect before you got to move on to the next one? And all of these things that are going through your head, and the tours and the phone calls, how do I give them back some more time, but be a part of that sales process? The hardest conversation, in my opinion, and in my experience, has always been the financial impact, right? So you get a lot of financial objections in the sales process. You get a lot of leads that get stuck in the funnel. Sales leaders can't figure out what is that next logical step that I can move them onto that gets them excited or gives them something that moves them through that funnel. But we all know that probably one of the absolute highest search terms is, how much does it cost? How many phone calls come into the front desk and the first question is, how much does it cost to live there? So we know the financial impact is high priority to our prospective residents and their family members. So I thought, okay, if I can hold together all of the financial resources that we have available in our space that quite honestly have been fragmented, right? It's, if you know about this resource, your company might give this resource to you. That's their financial tool. You get a piece of collateral. You don't really get trained on what it is and how it works or how to get a lead referred over to them. Salespeople weren't using those resources because they didn't know how to answer the questions that families would ask, or they were fearful of not being able to answer those questions. So if I pull all of these together and I create a group of sales specialists who are rock stars in and of themselves, and we focus on just being subject matter experts of all of those resources, if I can deliver this service to the communities that we own, we work in tandem with the sales leaders at the community level. And when they identify a prospect who might need to just have a deeper conversation about how is this going to affect me financially, or how do I afford to pay for this? There's a myriad of different reasons why communities refer over to us. So if we get that referral and we do a deep discovery, I will tell you, in addition to community sales leaders not being comfortable with that conversation, the prospects working with the on-site sales leaders, they're in the warm and fluffy with them for so long that if the financial questions are asked, they keep everything very close to their chest. Versus being referred over to a financial specialist, they know they're coming to us to have those conversations, right? They don't hold back. They ask a lot of questions. Because we're so intimately involved and understand our communities and we're a true partner, we know what their rates are. We know what their community fees are. We tell them, do not give a discount. Don't throw out an incentive until you've connected that family with us, because we want to help you get your full rate. We want you to get your community fee. We not only work with them on a financial discovery, understand. Sometimes it's just a matter of having that conversation, and then it starts to make sense for them. And in a lot of other cases, they need a resource to be able to look forward to live there. So I'm not the resource. I am the conduit to understand their situation, identify what is the most appropriate resource for resources, and then we chaperone them to that resource and stay with them through the entire process. Old school was, here's a flyer. I hope you find a solution, and I hope we come back to me, taking hope out of the equation. It was rolled out to CPA-owned assets, and it has been incredibly successful. While I rolled it out to a pilot group, because it became so successful, we started adding on more and more of the CPA-owned assets. And those operators, they might manage 5 communities for CPA, but then they've got another 35, 40 communities that are in their portfolio. They started coming to me. They're like, what you're doing over here, I want as an enterprise solution for my company. This is incredible. Look what you're doing to help these communities. And furthermore, the customer service and how happy these customers or these residents are coming through your process and feeling like they have found what they needed to make that informed decision. I want it for my entire company. What started out as a tool for me to help my communities do better, I had to come up with a business plan and a means of how I put this together for non-owned CPA assets. And so I've done that for the last year, a little bit over a year, where I've now taken on all of our current operator communities. Very proud to say that with an investment, have now pulled it to a standalone business. So I am here. I want to help. If you know me, and you know me, I am a giver, right? My feet hit the ground every single day to identify pathways to achievement. And that's not achievement for me. It is for everybody that comes into my life and every community that I support. So I am over the moon excited to be able to give this to more and to help more seniors so they don't fall through the crowds.
Wow.
So it's so much talking.
Yeah,
Whoa.
Amazing. You didn't even take a breath. That was incredible.
Well, and
you did say I'm passionate. I mean,
yes,
should have started out with
that
right. Comment.
Let's face it, HR tasks can be a pain in the neck. That's why Procare HR is committed to helping you work out those kinks so that you can focus on what really matters, delivering care. Ensuring that you can provide the highest level of care is their top priority.
Procare HR has proven results in helping care organizations because they only serve the care industry. Procare HR addresses the common burdens like workforce shortages, wage gaps, expensive sign-on bonuses, legislative changes, high workers' comp claims, and more. Reach out to them at procarehr.com.
That's right. Well, that's evident. And what a great success story. We couldn't be more excited. And Lucas, I mean, that is what we're here to literally share, these kind of stories. And I am so glad that you guys are doing this now outside of just your communities, because this is something that can help the entire industry. And that is so exciting for us at Bridge the Gap to be able to have just a small impact, to give you a megaphone to be able to communicate that. I had heard some buzz about this, but this is the first time I've actually sat down and heard it directly from you. So that's super exciting. I do want to ask you, because I think what you touched on is really a key ingredient too, of giving these leaders in the communities, whatever their title are, time back. And I could see that this aspect is one huge ingredient of a value add. Are there other practical things that you have seen, like that generally speaking for most communities is like a simple way where you can add back value to your leadership at the community and maybe find a way to give them back some time in their day?
There's a lot of resources coming at us right now, right? There's a lot of tech pieces that are able to plug and play. One that I'm super excited about right now and can't wait for some of our operators to roll out is from August Health, and that's the move-in paperwork that's automated. An executive director is supposed to sit down and go through that contract. I mean, 100 pages, right, of information they got to keep flipping through. I'm super excited that August Health is coming in with the move-in paperwork automation.
Nice.
I can't wait to see that actually deployed in use. Again, I go back to what can you relieve them of time for, right? So how do you create that culture? Because by the time you create that culture, everybody understands how they can contribute. Sometimes it's just a smile.
Yeah.
Right? wearing your uniform and a name tag, maybe introducing yourself through the sales process. That's how our caregivers give back. But how can our other directors also be a part of that to relieve that sales leader of some of the time in the sales process so they can either get out with their external business development? It goes back to the basics.
Yeah.
Some of it is basics. Some of it is some of the tech pieces that are coming to us. BI tools, like to understand the whole business, is giving back, to give back time to the executive director. The executive director now has time to give back to the sales director. The sales director can get out of the building. So I feel like it's a multidiscipline approach and giving the resources and the tools at many different levels.
You know, and Lucas, I'm just sitting here thinking, how lucky are we? You look at our ambassador cohort that just came on this year, folks like Sherrie. We just had Austin on. High-level thought leaders in the industry out spreading the word. And this is, I just kind of pinched myself because 7 years ago, this is our 7th year, all started around NIC and the events and conferences. This was, I think, the vision at time. And it's amazing to see that so many professionals now, the things that we've talked about in theory are actually carrying these things out, implementing programs, not only for their little silo, but to share that with the industry. And that's what we've been saying to our fans, our listeners all along, is like, if you're not in the senior living industry, or if you're in your community and you don't have time to get out of your community, that our hope is that the resources of folks like you sharing on this program elevates the entire industry. And what an exciting time it is to be in senior living.
It is. And this has been a fun conversation. You know what? I can't wait to have you back on, maybe back in the fall, to give us an update on the track and the progress of what you've been able to do, especially with this financial piece. I think it's going to be a really interesting topic. Thank you so much for spending time with us today.
Thank you for inviting me. Thank you for choosing me to be an ambassador. I promise you, I will represent you well.
we know that.
And this industry.
Yes.
We believe you
Very passionate.
so much. And so for our BTG listeners out there, if you want to connect with Sherrie, we encourage you to do that. We'll put all of that in the show notes and the links. Go to btgvoice.com, connect with us there on this content and more. And thanks for listening to another great episode of Bridge the Gap.
Thanks for listening to Bridge the Gap podcast with Josh and Lucas. Connect with the BTG Network team and use your voice to influence the industry by connecting with us at btgvoice.com.